It's time.
That was probably one of the best Star Trek Discovery episodes for Season 2 I have seen. The episode captured some fantastic moments, and it was simply fantastic. I really think this is, just fantastic. I've got no other words for it. Episode 13 of Star Trek Discovery Season 2, titled Such Sweet Sorrow, just aired, and this is the part 1 of part 2, or part 1 out of 2, the season final of the Star Trek Discovery Season 2. It was simply fantastic. Hello everyone, my name is Captain Jack and welcome back to Trek Central. Today we're of course reviewing and discussing the latest Star Trek Discovery episode, which is part 1 out of 2 of the season final for this season of Discovery. Very explosive and wow, what a good episode to kickstart off the final of the season. Just before we proceed in this video, there are going to be spoilers for this episode, so if you haven't seen it yet, make sure to go and watch it, and I definitely encourage you to watch it, as this episode was just amazing. Wow. Alright, let's start diving into it. Spoilers, you've been warned. So this episode started off with a fantastic scene of Sarek sitting on the beach here, reaching out towards what we presume is Burnham, and he's saying Michael and stuff like that. This is pretty interesting because we show Sarek's connection to Michael Burnham. And it's pretty interesting because we know Sarek and Amanda are well connected to Burnham's story, and this has been something in the fandom for a while, how connected they are, considering Burnham was never mentioned throughout Star Trek lore whatsoever. And it does make sense. You are noticing a lot of the cracks within Discovery's timeline are repairing themselves in this episode alone. It's something I noticed, and I think my theory from yesterday might come true. One of the things the crew decides to come up with in this episode is we need to take the Discovery out of the equation entirely. In order to stop Control from getting the sphere data, they want to basically put Discovery in the future. Fun fact, I made a video on this yesterday saying Discovery may jump to modern Star Trek time, i.e. post-Nemesis. You can see that in a video I posted yesterday, and it looks like that's might what they do. So the plan is to jump Discovery to the future. Now, they have no plan of where it may end up in the future, so a bit of a grey area, probably either write Season 3 or figure out if they're getting one. Now, we have this fantastic little moment of all the crew sort of saying goodbye, packing up their quarters and stuff like that, and there is a lot of emotional scenes in this episode. I find it hard to believe that I'm saying, emotional in Discovery, but wow, a lot of emotional scenes between the crew. One of my fantastic scenes in this episode so far is simply the Enterprise turning up. And I think we have to spend some time focusing on it. Obviously, the Enterprise we saw in season 1's final episode. We saw a hint of the Enterprise there, and then we saw more of it in season 2's premiere episode, Brother, where the Enterprise turns up and beams Captain Pike aboard. Well, now it's back up with the Discovery and is looking fantastic. We know the Discovery crew are evacuating over to the Enterprise, and it makes a lot of sense. They're obviously, of course, trying to blow up the Discovery, but until it realizes it can't be blown up. Now, the Enterprise does look fantastic. They've done a great detail of capturing the aesthetic of what would be, the modern day 1701 Enterprise. It's from Kirk's era. There's a fantastic shot of Pike and Saru walking across to the Enterprise, and when the doors open, you just get this feeling of pure Star Trek. You see all the crew in the Enterprise corridors, the iconic red and orange colours with the iconic Enterprise uniforms. It just looks fantastic. It's just so cool. When Pike's walking around there and you've got all these iconic Enterprise details, it's just brilliant. I can't, the feeling when watching this episode is amazing. As a long-time Star Trek fan, I simply love this. When Pike gets in the elevator and puts his hand on the iconic, elevator thing, I can't remember the technical name of it, sorry to anyone who's trying to remember, and they go up to deck 1. And the unveiling of the Enterprise bridge, oh my god, it is just beautiful. I never thought I'd get so excited and emotional over a Star Trek set before, but just looking at it, when Pike walks on board the bridge of the Enterprise, and you see these exotic colours mixed with the original Enterprise colours and decor, is fantastic. I loved it. Now, surprisingly, Admiral Cornwell was in charge of the Discovery. She flew it here from Space Dock. Again, reasserting that ability that Cornwell can apparently be between starships wherever she is. I do like the fact, though. But it is a bit odd how she does end up on board Discovery. Now, number 1 is back. Now, this is obviously Rebecca Roman playing number 1. And she's on board the Enterprise once again and is basically telling Pike they've upgraded full systems. One very cool line, which I think a lot of fans will be interesting, is Rebecca Roman's number 1 says the Enterprise is fully repaired and they've stripped out all the holographic systems. So none of that's back on the Enterprise anymore. Which makes sense, because in TOS they never had holographic communications. So she goes, all major systems are back online and we'll have no more of the holographic communications, which is brilliant. And she says ever as well. which makes sense that they got ripped out of the entire Starfleet overall. And I'm liking the sound of that because Discovery is sort of re-centralizing and, reworking itself back inside the canon of Star Trek overall. But yeah, to finish on this point, Enterprise looks fantastic and, oh my god, it's just beautiful. It looks so good compared to what would be, Kirk's Enterprise in only about 10 years' time, I think, in the Star Trek time. And wow, and you get the USS Enterprise nameplate there. I hope someone sells a model of that because I really want that. And I hope we get a model of this Enterprise as well. What I would love to right now is the Star Trek Bridge Crew VR game to put this Enterprise into the game. That'd be quite cool. Now, while we are on board Discovery, Burnham actually reaches into the time crystal. We know what she's going to do. She touches the time crystal. She sees a future version of herself, which is where the bridge of the Discovery is attacked by Captain Leland, and the crew of the Discovery are killed very brutally. Now, whether this future will play out is unlikely. But, yeah, I'm not sure if it will play out in my opinion. But yeah, that's one thing to focus on. There's a brilliant line by Number One when they realise they're going to have to fight for Discovery survival because it won't actually self-destruct. And Number One says she pulled out some new stocks for the Enterprise and shuttles because she presumed shit would hit the fan. It's just a fantastic line. I loved it. This character is so cool. This just reasserts my theory that, we need a Star Trek series with Pike, Number One, Spock, and everyone like that. It's going to be fantastic. Now, one thing we do realise is that Burnham is going to have to pilot the Discovery, or not Discovery, she's going to have to create her own version of a time suit and therefore, go to the future and take Discovery with her. Essentially, the Discovery will be on autopilot and follow her through what will be the time wormhole. It does make sense and reasserts my theory yesterday. If I am right on this whole matter, I think I should be hired as a writer for Star Trek. No, I'm joking. But it'd be quite funny if I'm right. I'm very crazy as well. And obviously, Queen Poe returns. We last saw her in the Star Trek short Runaway. Lovely to have her back as usual. It's fantastic. And the way she walks around sort of a Discovery and has that sort of snarky attitude with Georgiou, it's just really cool. And I love it. This is such a brilliant crew. And this episode really makes you appreciate the Discovery crew a lot more. Now, Jet Reno has a larger point in this episode than she has in previous episodes. I say we see more of her, we didn't even see that much of her in her debut episode on the Harafu, Harafu, I don't know how to pronounce that ship now. But we see a lot more of her in this episode, and she's fantastic. I hope with season 3, we see more of Tig Notaro as Jet Reno, as, it's fantastic. I can't wait to see more of her. I really want to see more of her. Now, one sticking out point, if you have watched this episode and you're concerned about it, the bit would be that Spock is currently staying on board the Discovery, which would make sense, because if Discovery goes to the future, Spock can't go with them, because it would alienate TOS and a lot of Star Trek lore. Well, don't worry, I did watch the preview episode for next week, episode 14, and it appears Spock is flying around in a shuttle pod, which makes sense that he's most likely going to get left behind. Which does make sense, because then he wouldn't actually end up in the future. So most likely, while Spock is helping Burnham out flying around in the suit, his shuttle pod gets knocked off and he doesn't travel to the future with them. This is a very interesting way, because if Discovery does go to the future, it is taking the crew and everyone else with them. Now, Hugh, the Doctor, so Dr. Culber, said he's staying on board Enterprise, which is quite sad. So him and Stamets kind of made their farewells, which was kind of sad, to be honest, because these guys have been with us since season 1 now, and it's even part ways, and, rightfully end their relationship is really sad, to be honest. I know a lot of people are keen on their relationship in Discovery, but I think it was brilliant to actually feature that in there. It's going to be a shame they've ended it there and then. There's a great scene between Sarek, Amanda, and Burnham where they're basically saying goodbye to her. They know what she's about to do. Burnham's about to travel into the future and take Discovery with her, and she won't be able to come back, so it's a one-way trip. Sarek and somehow Amanda managed to magically materialize on board Discovery. Turns out they managed to get there, but they didn't have time to tell Starfleet to send any backup. A little bit of a plot hole there, but AI, it's plot armor, whatever, we can't say much. And Burnham basically says goodbye to adopted parents, and this concretes the fact again why they never mention her, I think. This episode definitely ties up a lot of Discovery's plot holes, in my opinion. She said goodbye and almost disconnected her link from Sarek and Amanda, and they go off on their own way. It is kind of sad to see this farewell, and this whole episode is full of emotional scenes between Burnham and the Discovery crew. And it is sad, because, we've grown to accept these characters, and we don't know what might happen to them. It's definitely going to be explosive, in my opinion. Now, Burnham eventually realised she's not going to go alone into the future. The Discovery's core cast are actually going to be coming with her. Saru, Bryce, Jet Reno, Stamets, Tilly, and Detmer, and Oshawo, or I can't remember her name, Uwu, I think she was called at one point. And Spock's apparently coming with her. Now, we know Spock can't actually go with her, so presumably he'll be lost next week. Now, Tyler is leaving Discovery as well. He's not going with them. He's staying on board with Pike, and Georgiou is actually going with her as well. So maybe this will allude to the fact that if Georgiou gets transported into the future, maybe that's where her Section 31 series will take place. We don't know many details about Georgiou's Section 31 series just yet, but maybe it'll take place in the future, post DS9 Section 31, which will make sense of all their crazy and weird technology. I don't know. There'll definitely be a lot more to play with up in there. This is all kind of fitting into Star Trek lore at the moment. If the crew travel to the future, it will cement themselves and have a lot more abilities to play with Star Trek lore overall. Being a prequel series like Discovery is, it has the issue of trying to fit in so much with everything that's already pre-established. We've got TOS, we've got Next Generation, Voyager, DS9, Nemesis, etc. Discovery's set before all of that and just after Enterprise as well. So it has to fight and, rework itself essentially. It's not got much room to expand. They started going a little OTT and crazy in season 1 and realised that fucked them up a bit. So they're trying to rework themselves now in order to fit back into. So if they take the Discovery out of the equation like they're doing in the episode and put it in the future, it makes a lot more sense on what they can do with it. It'd also make more sense of why JoJo would be in Section 31 and would have her series actually in the future. I like the idea of this and it's sounding pretty cool. Now, there is one last scene I just have to mention in a minute, is where Pike says goodbye to the Discovery crew, and oh my Christ. CBS, if you're watching, I know you're not, if anyone else is watching, please tell CBS to give us a Pike TV series. We bloody need it, alright? A Pike TV series would be fantastic. And the character's just fantastic. Anson Mount does a brilliant job of acting as a standard, captain in the Starfleet, or, in Star Trek. I just can't believe how good he is at portraying Pike. And it's such a, sad farewell. We know Pike's not going to die anytime soon. We know he's got his future coming to him. But when he walks off Discovery, it's just it's just goodbye to him. I don't know. It's just a shame to see Pike go, is all I'm saying. And hopefully we'll see more of him, I don't know, sometime in the future or something else. I don't know. But it is a shame to see Pike leave the Discovery. Now, Commander Nhan is staying on board, which makes sense because she's never really seen on the Enterprise anyway. Now, there is a scene where Jet Reno decides to actually touch the time crystal and see the future because they wanted to gather an idea of what might happen, or they was trying to use it in a way that the crystal could, charge a bit faster without its containment field. In this sort of really quick preview, we see the Enterprise coming to attack, and a torpedo lodged itself in the Enterprise hull, suggesting she's going to get further damage. Along with that, we do see Leland inside the ship again, and he appears to be shooting at something, though the scene is quite too fast for me to actually analyse what's going on. So I'm not entirely too sure what she's seen here, but it does look like somebody is on board Discovery, so therefore, Leland might be on there. That could pose a risk, because if Control is on board Discovery, we're going to have a pretty big issue, because if it goes to the future, we're all stuffed. Now, our ending scene for this episode is the USS Enterprise and Discovery facing off against the Section 31 fleet. We get a fantastic shot of the bridge of the Enterprise again, with Cornwell in command, as Captain Pike comes aboard, and you see all of these ships bearing down on the Discovery and Enterprise. A fantastic little picture of Discovery and Enterprise sat next to each other. Please make that into a canvas print. And we see Pike walk on board the Enterprise and take command once again. Number 1 delivers that line of 9 more enemy ships have exited, and I'm excited for next episode. We've got Pike going shields up, red alert, and Saru saying prepare for battle. And the episode ends there. Overall, this was a fantastic Star Trek episode, and I'm excited for next week. Discovery seems to have repaired quite a lot of its plot holes, and is setting itself up for a potential Season 3. Overall, I am very much impressed with this episode of Star Trek Discovery. It was simply fantastic. So much so, I want you to tell me your thoughts on it down below in the comment section. Make sure to drop your comments, as we're going to be discussing the episode in greater detail this coming week. The new preview for episode 14 of Discovery is up and available now. You can head over to our Facebook and Twitter pages to take a look at that. It is fantastic. I've been Captain Jack. Thank you for tuning and watching me today, and I'll catch you next time. Goodbye.